This has been a lifelong, not a lifelong curiosity of mine. I won't say lifelong, because I haven't known. I've known about Nickelback for maybe the first time I heard Nickelback was I was in high school. It's probably how old was I? Maybe 17 or 16, somewhere there. That was my first time ever hearing Nickelback. Maybe I'd heard them before that in passing and not realized that I was listening to Nickelback at the time. But um, around 16, 17 is the first time I watched a music video, and it was like Nickelback, and I'm like, yes, I'm looking, and finally I can see Nickelback, the guys I've heard so much about, you know. And I liked the song. I think it was called Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. We can stand together. It was like a world peace kind of song, you know. I don't know if it's world peace. It was about just the problems in the world and how we need to fix them if we stand together. It was a vibe, yeah. It was a good song with a good message. And then later on, so at the time I didn't know that Nickelback had a reputation or whatever. And then later on is when I started hearing them getting referenced, because you start paying attention. I don't know if you guys have experienced this before, but sometimes I have these moments where I'll discover something for the first time, and then for some reason I'll start hearing more and more about it. Maybe it's me subconsciously now paying attention more to that thing. But also, I don't know if that's the universe, you know, being a universe. The universe does whatever the universe wants to do. Who cares? Yeah, and then I started hearing them getting mentioned in negative light, you know, being made fun of, being roasted by people, just in reference, like in a show, you know, someone will be like, you like Nickelback, what the fuck, you know, and I'm like, I like Nickelback, what are you talking about, man? You know, I've never really understood really why people hate them, why people don't like Nickelback, why people hate them. This is a video by Sunny V2. I think he's the one who did the previous video I did about James Corden. Sunny V2, shout out Sunny V2. I'll leave a link in the description. Your content is fire, man. Just based on the on the James Corden video, I think this is the same channel. So go check out Sunny V2. Sunny V2. The video is how Nickelback became the most hated band ever. Ever though. Ever is crazy. You know, it can't be for their music, because their music is not that bad. Maybe it's bad for some people, but I've heard some good Nickelback stuff, man. But I don't know about the group, about the individuals in the group, about the people in the group, the humans in the group. I just know the band Nickelback, you know. So let's see why people hate them so much, man. Being universally hated is a weird feeling, you know. That just, it changes you. The way fame changes you, being loved by everyone, the way that changes you, I bet being hated by everyone changes you too, man. I don't know if it changes people in the same way, you know, but it's crazy. It's crazy. Being universally hated, man, it's so crazy. Infamy.
How did Nickelback come to be universally hated?
So those are the members, huh? I know the leader. He looks different here, man. So different now. Maybe this is what they look like now. How old is this video? This is from this year, 1st September, fairly recent video. They're older, clearly, because I remember this guy looking way younger, the lead singer. Don't know about the other dudes.
Hated by. How did Nickelback come to be universally hated by everyone? Well, the hatred began with something completely out of Nickelback's control and was rather related to the opinion held by another popular public figure. In 2003, approximately 8 years after Nickelback was created, a comedian by the name of Brian Posehn would appear on a Comedy Central talk show titled Tough Crowd, during which he would make a joke about bad music making people violent, before using Nickelback as an example.
Bad music makes people violent. Like Nickelback makes me want to kill Nickelback.
At the time, the other hosts on the show didn't even know who Nickelback was, yet Brian Posehn continued to reassure them with conviction that the band was truly horrible.
I'm so old, I don't even know who Nickelback is.
I'll have to agree with Nick.
They're not good. They're horrible. Let's just trust me.
Now, you'd probably assume that this one little comment wasn't enough to make the
This guy was ahead of his time.
entire world hate Nickelback, right? Well, the problem was, instead of this comment being a small thing in a relatively obscure episode on Comedy Central, the joke was actually featured in the station's main commercial, which was broadcast to millions for a period of over 6 months. With it, the hatred for Nickelback began to go viral, which for
I know James Quinn too,
Comedy
man.
Central. The joke was actually featured in the station's main commercial, which was broadcast to millions for a period of over 6 months. With it, the hatred for Nickelback began to go viral, which was outlined by one user on Reddit who stated, "The joke was on every Tough Crowd promo and nearly all the time. After hearing this joke during every promo for a couple of weeks, I began to hear everyone at my middle school begin to mock Nickelback mercilessly. The worthwhile part of that repetitive commercial was of course the punchline, 'Listening to Nickelback makes me want to kill Nickelback.' The whisper down the lane aspect of the joke telling allowed the origin to slowly disappear until even people unfamiliar with modern music knew there was something detestable about Nickelback.
That's fucked up, man. That is fucked up, man. That is not fair, man. That's not fair, man. You know, but that is the world, though. But it's brutal. It's a brutal thing, man. From a joke, man. These guys, imagine how hard how hard, just generally, they've worked on their music in their lives. You know, how much effort it took to get them where they were at the time. This guy comes in, and also, he's just joking, so I don't know if the real dagger here is the clip being played as part of the commercial for that long. You know, maybe the guy just made a joke. He didn't even mean it to be, but he kept hammering the point though. But he probably didn't intend for this. You know, he was being funny. Just kept going to that well. It was the gift that kept on giving during that show, whatever. That joke kept on killing. They kept going back. He kept saying, Nickelback is shit, I'm telling you guys. You know, fucked up. All this just dismantled over a joke, man, by a joke.
Internet meme culture would then facilitate the hatred in the late noughties and early 2010s.
The only thing I want to hear right now is the sweet sound of this Nickelback CD cracking as I drive over it repeatedly.
With articles such as the 14 most brutal Nickelback memes of all time, featuring bangers such as still a better band than Nickelback, parents surprise him with concert tickets, Nickelback, and due to a coal shortage, Santa will be giving all bad little boys and girls Nickelback CDs. In addition to this, a company by the name of Aux Labs would develop a Chrome extension by the name of Nickelblock, never see Nickelback on the internet again, and by 2012 even Adam Sandler was jumping in on the hate train with a tweet reading, "If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, then have we found the perfect location for a Nickelback concert?"
But it became kind of a trend and kind of, you know,
Wow, so they've actually addressed the issue, huh?
Phenomenon.
yeah, it started to become sort of like a almost a constant, and it hurt.
Yeah, it was an early meme. This was a pre-internet meme. Not pre-internet, the internet existed. Of course, this shit is happening on the internet, but this is early days. Early days, like when memes were just becoming a thing, man. So this is, they went viral early. Early trend, man. A very early internet trend. It's been forgotten, kinda. You know, maybe it's still strong, the Nickelback hate. I don't know.
What micro
Started to become sort of like a almost a constant, and it hurt.
What Mike Kroger seemed to imply in that clip was that much of the Nickelback hatred was spreading simply because other people hated Nickelback. And those other people who hated Nickelback hated them because someone else hated Nickelback before them. This whole phenomena was outlined hilariously in a Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan episode.
It's the same reason everybody hates Nickelback. Because the internet says so.
Yet this still feels
Yep. That guy is on point, man. On point. It's so weird that he nailed that. Like when people get a mic shoved in their face at an event like this, they kind of panic. It's hard to come up with something clever at the moment. The best you can hope for is to not melt and embarrass yourself. But it's hard to be charismatic, you know, for most people, especially if it's random. Someone just comes up to you, a mic in your face like this dude. But this guy had the calmness and awareness to drop this banger. This is an amazing line that he dropped right here, man. Just out of nowhere. You know, just on a Saturday Talladega night, they're drinking whatever. Dude, you had that ready to go. It's crazy, funny, and on point. Because the internet said so. That's the case with Nickelback, at least so far.
Feels
Yeah,
like
so
too
far.
simple.
Because the internet says so.
Yet this still feels like too simple of an explanation. Why did Brian Posehn choose to rip on Nickelback in the first place? Why didn't he choose a different band? Why was his conviction so strong that he attempted to convince the other hosts on the show of how bad Nickelback was? Well, perhaps it was because he was being forced to listen to them against his will. In 2002, just a year prior to Brian Posehn making his viral comment about Nickelback being terrible, the band's most famous song, How You Remind Me, was crowned as the most played radio song of 2002, and by 2009, it was crowned as the most played radio song of the decade, having been spun on air over 1.2 million times. Just to give you an idea about how crazy that number is, in 2002 there was never a given second on American radio that How You Remind Me wasn't being
This is the Nickelback I know. I haven't seen them as older guys. These are the guys I remember. But I've only seen or heard maybe 2 songs by them. That World Peace song and one about, I don't know. The music video is just someone delivering a baby in a hospital or something. It's in a hospital somewhere, you know. And that World Peace song, that first one, which was my first time ever hearing Nickelback. That's the only Nickelback song that I've ever liked. Everything else I've heard by them hasn't pissed me off where I'm like, they suck. But I just haven't paid attention, you know. But these are the faces I remember, man.
played on any one station. Never a given second on American radio that How You Remind Me wasn't being played on any one station.
In the United States, at the time that the album came out, they say that at any given second in those days, that song was in play. There was never a moment in that year when it wasn't playing.
Perhaps rather than hating the band for the music itself, people were
They've never heard the song.
sick of Nickelback being shoved down their throats by radio stations throughout the 2000s. While these days we consume music by choosing what we want to listen to on YouTube or Spotify, this luxury didn't exist in 2002. Unless you had a specific CD, you were at the mercy of what.
Dude, I can't get into Spotify. Like, I've tried before. I've listened to stuff there, like, but I think I'm just not a music person. Like, I don't go to Spotify to listen to music. I don't know why. It looks like a beautiful place though. And I've listened to some songs. I like the categories and stuff, but it just feels different. It feels like I don't belong on Spotify, man. I feel like the music industry in that regard has progressed way too fast for me. It's not that I don't understand how to use the internet and Spotify. It feels weird. I just want to listen to music that's on my phone, man. I don't want to have to go to be on the internet, man. Maybe there's another way you can listen without being on the internet, but dude, the world is changing, man.
While these days we consume music by choosing what we want to listen to on YouTube or Spotify, this luxury didn't exist in 2002. Unless you had a specific CD, you were at the mercy of whatever the radio decided to play, and with every station blasting How You Remind Me all day, every day, it seemed Nickelback was inescapable. While this must have been great in terms of exposing Nickelback to the world, perhaps it went a little too far. How many of you guys have unfollowed an influencer or a friend on Facebook because they post 50 different times per day? Or have you ever had a friend force you to watch a piece of media, whether it be a song, video, or movie, and because you didn't choose to watch it, it feels uncomfortable and you just want it to end? It seemed as though this is how the world felt during Nickelback's blow-up, as summarized beautifully in an article written about the band. The song became too big. Nickelback's blow-up, as summarized beautifully in an article written about. It seemed as though this is how the world. Because you didn't choose to watch it, it feels uncomfortable and you just want it to end. It seemed as though this is how the world felt during Nickelback's blow-up, as summarized beautifully in an article written about the band. The song became too big. It never stopped playing. It was everywhere. Its legacy is that it introduced people to Nickelback. In doing so, it became a signpost, a specific moment in time when you met the thing you hate. Now it's hated by association. Now, in order for the song to have been getting that much airtime in the first place, some people must have been enjoying it. Yet Mike Kroger would go on to state that much of the success they achieved as a result of the song would eventually turn into hatred.
The time at which Nickelback began to suck started shortly after we started to sell millions and millions of albums. And everybody loves an underdog until they're no longer the underdog. And then once you're not the underdog anymore, that's when you start to suck.
Mike Kroger
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. I can't even pretend, man. I've noticed that about myself. Like, I lose interest in an artist once they become huge. Maybe it's just being a hater. Maybe it's human nature. But I've done that with so many artists, man. Where they like, when they're up and coming, I can't stop talking about them. I'm annoying people by how much I talk about them. And then they blow up, they become mainstream, everyone knows about them, and everyone is like, yo, have you heard so and so? And in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck? Is this a parallel world I'm living in? I was the one telling people about this guy. Now people are approaching me like, do you know so and so? I'm like, dude, fuck that guy, actually. I think that's where the turn happens, you know? You're like, you know what? I promoted this dude. I'm not even getting recognized. Fuck that guy, man. And you start hating them. Also, the music changes, the content changes, you know, it becomes something else because they all of a sudden they're bound by these network regulations and stuff. And it becomes a hectic world, you know? It's so hectic. Creating content, like, it's such a hectic world, man. You know? But I'm guilty of that, yeah. I just lose interest in artists sometimes when they make it big. I don't know why. Maybe that's just the hater in me, man. I'm not even afraid to say. It's just, it's subconscious. I've noticed it. I've done it with J. Cole. I've done it with The Weeknd. I've done it with several rap groups. What are these guys called? Flatbush Zombies. I remember introducing people to these guys. And then I remember just being so fucking annoyed when people later on are like, have you heard these guys? I'm like, dude. You know, but that was the younger me. Or me back then when I cared about music and stuff. Maybe my lack of interest in music comes from lack of recognition for discovering. Hilarious. It's a ridiculous thing to suggest, but yeah, man, like, if you put someone onto something, you want them to acknowledge that you put them on, man. You don't want people to just be like, hey, is this new guy called so and so? You're like, dude, welcome to the party. I'm out. I'll leave him with you now. I'm out.
Kroger's theory that
And then that's, once you're not the underdog anymore, that's when you start to suck.
Mike Kroger's theory that people hated the band simply because they were successful was certainly plausible, as a Finnish academic study on the hatred of Nickelback found that between 2000 and 2014, the more successful Nickelback got, the worse their reviews grew, which was supported by a user on Reddit who wrote, "The only reason that so many people seem..."
I don't go to this extent. I don't start hating on people, like leaving messages. Like, I just leave. I don't start criticizing them and hating on them and being like, fuck you, you suck now, you made it big, you suck now, you've changed. I recognize that it's a normal part of life. It happens. That concept doesn't annoy me. It's just, of course, you know, people change with success and stuff, you know. I don't leave messages. I realize that my time is done and I move on to something else, you know. I don't start leaving messages, and people who leave online messages, hateful ones, really, just, it's something crazy. Something crazy, man. You know? Especially long ones. Long, hateful ones. They're funny.
Seemed to hate
They're weird.
reviews grew, which was supported by a user on Reddit who wrote, "The only reason that so many people seem to hate Nickelback is because of how popular they are,
If you're going to be hateful, keep it short.
selling over 50 million albums
No one has time for that
worldwide."
one.
It didn't help that certain media outlets literally had a policy where they weren't allowed to write positive stories about Nickelback. Mike Kroger explained that he met a former journalist for Rolling Stone who had written a positive review of a Nickelback album while working for the media company, yet Rolling Stone never allowed the journalist to post it simply because it was positive.
And this journalist said, hey, I got to tell you a story. He was asked to review one of our albums, and he wrote a very, very detailed and well thought out review of the album, and it was positive. He took it to his editor, and his editor just said, I'm not going to print this, because we here at Rolling Stone are very anti Nickelback. We do not like Nickelback. We can't write good things about Nickelback.
And if this was the narrative being held by the media, it's hardly surprising to discover that there have been countless other negative articles on the band, although to be fair, some of them have certainly been a result of Nickelback's poor decisions. For example, in 2006, the Nickelback frontman was stopped by police for speeding in his luxury Lamborghini sports car. A breath test found he had nearly twice the legal limit of alcohol in his system. Along similar lines, in an interview with Playboy, Chad Kroeger bragged about once having drunk 13 Corona beers in a row, stating that he can down a Corona in 5 or 6 seconds, although while their drinking habits along with their love for car chases, explosions and big boobs probably just made their audience love them even more, one thing that they would do in 2008 might actually qualify as the first thing done by Nickelback themselves to have a genuine impact on their reputation. In fact, this thing was so detrimental that the Finnish academic study we mentioned earlier anchored it as the main reason behind the band's poor reputation, and it began when they wrote a song by the name of Rockstar in 2005. 3 years after releasing the academic study we mentioned impact on their reputation. In fact, this thing was so detrimental that the Finnish academic study we mentioned impact on their might actually qualify as the first thing done by Nickelback themselves to have a genuine impact on their reputation. In fact, this thing was so detrimental that the Finnish academic study we mentioned earlier anchored it as the main reason behind the band's poor reputation, and it began when they wrote a song by the name of Rockstar in 2005. 3 years after releasing the song, it was licensed to DFS Furniture for an advertisement, which was so terrible that it put a dent in the band's reputation. Nickelback's branding was,
These guys can't catch a break, man.
as mentioned previously, about metal, beers, and the same things Middle America likes. Therefore, licensing their music to a commercial that looked like this felt a little bit inauthentic. Now, we can probably all agree that it feels like a bit of a stretch to claim that Nickelback's worldwide hatred came about as a result of one relatively obscure furniture advertisement. However, according to the Finnish study, the issue, Antonin writes, is about the perception of authenticity. Rock critics like to think of themselves as protectors of originality, and they perceived Nickelback to be a bunch of sellouts, true to their money rather than the art. Perhaps it was less about them being in the background of a furniture ad, and more about them selling their music to the furniture ad in the first place. People perceived them as sellouts with zero standards. In addition to this, the Finnish study made the claim that
So is rock music in its like rap music in its base, in its core, is meant to be anti-establishment. Yeah, it's fuck the police. That is, if you go to the core of rap music, you know, the nucleus of rap music, if you look at it for what it is, there's a lot of expression of plight of people, plight of black people. There's a lot of that is also being expressed towards the police and stuff. So it's very rap in its core. It's very anti-establishment, and rightfully so. You know, I wonder if that's the same for rock music. You know, I assume it is because of the aesthetic itself, the way they dress, the way they rock shows just look like holy fuck. You know, they're crazy. It's rowdy. I think rock music is also meant to be anti-establishment. Yeah, you can't say that about every genre of music. There's R&B out there that's just love, you know, feelings. I love you. I love you. You left me. I love you. And you left me, and I can't find. That's R&B. I like R&B. It's underrated, you know. It's underrated, man. Grew up listening to R&B. I think that's the. Growing up, I listened to R&B. That was my genre growing up. It molded me. It made me. It gave me a certain outlook on love, and women, and relationships that I had to undo later on in life. You know, it made me sort of like a simp somehow, because R&B is very feelings. It's all about feelings. So I remember listening to a lot of R&B growing up, and I remember at the time the way I looked at women. It's so different from the way I look at them now. You know, R&B made me put women on a pedestal, bro. You know, and then rap music came along, and this is early, like in my formative years. Like this is me in high school discovering hip hop when I was maybe, I don't know, 15, 16. And then something else happened. Hip hop also kind of morphed my opinion on that stuff too, you know. Because hip hop is anti that stuff. Hip hop, R&B is simpish, hip hop is pimpish. That's the best way I can put it. R&B is simpish, hip hop is pimpish, and yeah, it's weird, man. Music, the way it molds you, man. It's like your environment. It's part of your environment. It's around you. It's what you're listening to. You know, especially in those early years, man. It really affects the way you think about stuff, man. I don't know how I got here, but anyway, rock music. I think it's meant to be anti-establishment. So I get these are the hardcores criticizing, not the casuals. The casuals, I'm sure, are fine.
People perceive them as sellouts with zero standards. In addition to this, the Finnish study made the claim that fans were unhappy with Nickelback's perceived lack of originality. When you listen to Nickelback, you think a generic rock song not pushing the envelope. Nickelback has too much of everything to be enough of something. They follow genre expectations too well, which is seen as empty imitation, but also not well enough, which is read as commercial tactics and as a lack of a stable and sincere identity. The idea that Nickelback were hated for being a generic risk-free rock band has been theorized everywhere.
I think this is the one I heard. The shit that's on screen right now. I think this is the music video, the song I heard. I remember this. I'm getting flashbacks. Vietnam. Oh my god.
On the internet. In a Reddit thread attempting to discover how the band became so hated, one user wrote, "People hate Nickelback because they represent the idea that a record label can take any band, no matter how bad, and make them popular. The label can use clever PR and good
Where I live, there are like dogs around, yeah? And sometimes they just go crazy. I don't even know where they stay. I just know there are dogs around, man. And every once in a while, they go nuts. And they startle me. That's what that was.
good advertising can take any band, no matter how bad, and make them popular. The label can use clever PR and good advertising to make loads of money off a band that is just mediocre. People don't hate the band nearly as much as they hate the idea that the band represents, which was followed by a reply reading, "They're a mediocre band that has experienced precisely zero musical growth and exists purely as a vehicle to print money for record labels. They knew they were a mediocre band, didn't care about musical growth, signed on knowing what the plan was, and had no problem with any of it. It doesn't even make sense to hate Nickelback for their music. It's not distinctive enough to be worthy of notice. It's carefully designed to be pointless and catchy.
It doesn't make sense to hate Nickelback for their music. Yeah, like, I was thinking the same.
It's not distinctive enough to be worthy of notice. It's carefully designed to be pointless and catchy. It's a product built to appeal to the lowest common denominator.
It's a band created by a committee. Yeah, like a boardroom. Like a board sat down and came up with this fucking fast food shit just to shove down your throat. I get it, man. I get it. But also, would this have started if would anything have happened if that comedian had not started the whole thing? I wonder.
It's carefully designed to be pointless and catchy. It's a product built to appeal to the lowest common denominator. It doesn't do anything wrong because it doesn't dare to take any risks. To put it simply, instead of Nickelback creating music that's risky and authentic to them, the band is perceived as having a reputation for putting out whatever music is guaranteed to appeal to the masses, yet it's hard to tell if this perception is even correct. In an interview with Face Culture, Chad Kroger discusses how they've
It's kind of on the same vein as you know how in hip hop people criticize rappers for not writing their own lyrics. You're like, dude, are you even an authentic entity here, man? You're talking about selling crack and toting guns and stainless steel and but if someone is writing it for you, man, it's the Drake thing, the Drake thing. It's the questioning of authenticity, man. Like this shit you're saying, like, you can't be inauthentic with art. You can't. Inauthenticity does not belong in art, man. It's an unforgivable sin in art, being inauthentic, because it usually comes out eventually. If you're pretending to be nice and you're not, someone will run up on you and they'll realize you're an ass, you're a douche, an asshole, or whatever. So, authenticity in art is important, man. These guys were designed by maybe they started well, but at some point they just, the label took them and just created something else.
this perception is even correct. In an interview with Face Culture, Chad Kroger discusses how they've experimented with a bunch of different types of music.
We definitely started off as a little bit of a heavier band, but we found fans in so many different places because we just wanted to write different kinds of songs. So we'd write a song that was way over here and the fans would accept it, and then sometimes we'd write something really heavy and the fans would accept that too.
Before explaining that each band member perceives the music in their own unique way.
Everyone had their own different interpretation of it. One was political, one was religious, one was like corporate.
Which doesn't exactly sound like they were specifically trying to follow some kind of radio success formula. Maybe this point is just another reason the internet made up to justify hating them, because outside of the
Look at this photograph. This I know this meme, man.
Maybe this point is just another reason the internet made up to justify hating them, because outside of the internet they claim that they're hated by no one. For example, a petition requesting that Nickelback not play at halftime during an NFL game racked up over 55,000 signatures, yet after arriving in the city to play the concert, the band stated that it was nothing but love from the fans.
Playing the halftime, what was that like?
It was very controversial filled, and far less so when we actually got there. Every single human being that we came in contact with in Detroit was like, we love you, we have no idea what this is all about.
Now, there was that one time in Portugal where they walked off stage after having rocks and bottles thrown at them, yet as an overall, the band has been—
Dude, they hate you guys in Portugal. How did you get hated in Portugal, man? Damn, that's crazy, man. In Portugal, I thought this was an American thing, you know? These guys are American, yeah? I thought this would be an American thing, an American meme, an American affair. You know, I didn't expect them to be getting hate in fucking Portugal, man.
Wise in framing the stage after having rocks and bottles thrown at them.
And when I say hate, I mean like bottles thrown. Like, dude, really? People actually went to the show and fucking threw bottles at these guys. It's one thing to be hated internationally on the internet, but real life in Portugal, right? That's insane.
Yeah. Now, there was that one time in Portugal where they walked off stage after having rocks and bottles thrown at them, yet as an overall, the band has been wise in framing the hatred as a long-term positive.
I've been really clear with my guys that all that hate has given our career legs. And that's the thing that scares me the most is if people finally stop hating us.
I didn't catch the end there. It ended way too abruptly. Like this guy got shot at the end of the video and just uploaded it, I guess.
The most is if people finally stop hating us. All that hate has given our career legs. And that's the thing that scares me the most is if people finally stop hating us.
Yeah. It's like, it's a confusing thing, man. Where you're like growing financially because of how much people hate you, and people start to love you. You know, the meme is dead. When people start loving Nickelback, the meme will die. And it's a scary thing, man, because it's the kind of thing that would make you kind of want to go back to infamy. When your pockets start getting affected, you're like, people love me, but I'm starving. What the fuck? You know, no one wants to be a popular malnourished dude, man. You know, like, they love me, but my stomach, you know. So I think for them, the best thing to do is to just play the hand they are dealt. A lot of this is not their fault, you know. I think it's the label. Man, dude, you can't fault someone for wanting to make it, man. Imagine wanting to make it your whole life. And then it's basically like selling your soul. You give up your identity and everything, and then you allow this label to just do whatever you want with your identity. It's selling out, yes, but I understand why people sell out sometimes, man. Especially when it comes to art. Creative careers rarely pay well. People want to get paid, man. You want me to hold on to this realness while I'm starving? I don't know. It's not something I've had to contend with myself. And I don't know, man. It doesn't strike me as an easy decision. You know? To be like, I've worked all these years. Here's my chance to be like financially set for the rest of my life. But these guys want to assume control of my band, what I put out there. And then you just sign that contract. And then you end up in a, what do you do if you're Nickelback? Just play the hand you're dealt, man. You know, don't try to be more hated than you are, but just let the meme live. Let the meme live. You know, as long as it's making you money. But don't go doing like actual fucked up shit in real life. Let the internet meme be an internet thing. But don't go actually doing fucked up shit in real life, because that will just make it worse. You know, let the internet do its thing. If you can handle it, ride the wave. But I don't know how how it has affected them. That guy at the end was accurate there. Like, when people start loving us, you hear those dogs going crazy again. And it's also like insane sounds they're making. These are not like friendly barks, you know. Sounds like it's a dog being jumped somewhere. Yeah, this was a good one, man. I've always wondered why people hate Nickelback so much. There's probably more to the story. You could probably do an hour-long documentary. This was 11 minutes. And it was a good short summary of what happened with Nickelback. It's an interesting story. It's a social phenomenon, you know, the kind of thing that should be studied because it's very indicative of human behavior and how people react to certain things, you know. This is a band that the label thought was perfect, but the audience kind of rejected them in a way. You know, it's like in WWE or in a show when you feel like you're being forced to like a character and you're like, I get what you're trying to do. It's not my thing. You know, someone is getting shoved down your throat, man. So it's never nice. Just the idea, just the concept of being force-fed something that you don't want. It makes you just want to rebel against something, even if it's good. Even if something is good, I want to have the choice to opt out, man. Don't enforce it on me. That's the whole vibe. It's human rebellion, you know. It's human behavior to a T. Yo, this guy does really good videos, man. Maybe I'll react to more of his stuff. As long as it's done, provided it's done content about topics that I'm curious about. That was a very well done video about a topic that has always oh, this guy has good videos, man. Go check out Sunny V2. His videos here, I'm looking at his videos. Why Facebook and Instagram have been failing. The tragic tale of whatever, I don't know who that is. The time Gordon Ramsay destroyed. I don't like Gordon Ramsay at all. I've never liked Gordon Ramsay. Like, he's very popular. I've never cared about this dude, man. You know, I don't like the yelling at people. I don't like jobs. It's weird to say this because that's the game. The game is the game. Yeah. But I don't like that whole yelling at people, putting people under that much pressure to cook fast and berating people. I guess it's training and supposed to make you tougher, especially in that career. But I can't like someone who does that to people. I can't. You know, some people can be mean and likable. From everything I've seen about Gordon Ramsay, I watched the First We Face thing. I don't know. Not my dude, man. Not my dude. You know. He's popular with reactors, though. People react to his savage moments. I don't give a fuck. How Quebble Cop lost his entire audience in 1 year. I need to watch that one. I don't know who that is, but I'm on YouTube. Dude lost his entire audience. That's crazy. It's crazy if the audience is big, you know. Wow, this guy has like really good looking videos, man. Juice WRLD final 27 hours. Yeah, I think we'll be paying this dude a visit multiple times. We'll come back, you know, but go check him out. Go show some love. Because this is elite content right here, man. I don't do this kind of content. Maybe one day I'll start doing my own kind of original shit. I just don't know what to talk about. And you know, this guy has picked a topic that people are curious about, and he's done a video about it. Yeah, you have to be to care about something to want to do a video about it. You have to be interested. I don't know if I'm interested in anything enough to want to do a video on it and stuff. Just like watching stuff, you know. Yes, I just watch stuff, man. I'm not on YouTube trying to create stuff. But maybe. Who knows? Check out Sunday V2. See you guys in the next one, man. Peace.